there were many points within the story that she could have gotten off this train. And I think that's the difficult part of me sympathizing with her. What is the fine line between being a victim and being a participant in your own suffering? We're vividly vocal. Hi, Vixen. Hey, Visionary. Welcome back to Vividly Vocal, the podcast for the ones finding their voices again. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I sure did. That's why I didn't pop up last week, because it was just a lot going on, going back to my hometown to visit my family and friends and a lot of other obligations I had to do. But during that time, there was a story taking the internet by storm, and that is the Danish deception, or as I'm going to call it, the Danish deception, as in that deceived you. But I have a lot of problems with this story. And a lot of them I can't really pinpoint, but some things about this story really disturbs me. So if you haven't heard of the Danish deception, originally I was going to do a full deep dive talking about the story, the background, include clips of what the person telling the story said, but I realized, I sat down and it was too much. And number two, I didn't want to do it. So because this story, first of all, if you do not know, the story is 4 hours, 17 minutes and 53 seconds, and I listened to all of it. I almost clicked out on the first hour and a half, hour, 15 minutes maybe, because I was getting that enraged from the story. Like sometimes I think I'm getting old because I don't have time for nonsense anymore, but I pushed through because it was obviously for a reason, like taking the internet by storm. On the day I listened to it, my best friend was having a birthday party and I had to wash my hair beforehand. And so I was like, I got time. It's a 4-hour ordeal. It's going to take me a couple hours to wash my hair, a couple hours to get ready for my friend's birthday party. And so why not? And I sat and listened to the whole entire thing. So this is going to be a quick, raw, dirty pause. Synopsis, kind of me giving my opinion on the events of the story. And I'll try to include y'all, but you might have to read a synopsis yourself so you can understand what's going on. If you have not seen the story before, hopefully I can include some clips maybe if I need to, but I'm going to be referencing my notes for this. But as I was taking notes on this story, my blood was boiling. Like, I was so mad I almost couldn't breathe. I almost had to click out for my health. But anyway, so the Danish deception is a story of our main character, I guess you could call her. But no, this is a real woman. Her name is Onyeka. She was on season 23 of The Bachelorette. So she meets this man in Croatia and she's immediately smitten head over heels for this man who comes from Denmark, this Danish man. And that is where it all went downhill. She was super thirsty for this man. So immediately she's fawning all over him. She describes him as a 6'3", blonde hair, blue-eyed Calvin Klein model. And this is a beautiful woman. I think she's beautiful. She's a beautiful Nigerian woman. But I couldn't help but think she had a fascination because of those features that he had. Now, ladies, I'm going to tell you, I'm in a relationship with a Caucasian man right now, and he's the best. But not all white men are created equal, okay? Just because somebody is white, that does not mean they are a trustworthy, kind, upstanding person. And I'm saying this because throughout the story, she keeps making comments like, oh, my white boy loves my spicy Nigerian food. My white boy. It was really uncomfortable. So that is one thing. She idolizes this man because he happens to be white and Danish. So she meets this man in Croatia while on vacation with her best friend, and she's trying so hard. She's like leaning over, touching him, laughing. They share drinks at a bar. He buys her and her friend a drink, and like she's like putting his hands immediately. Like you can tell she was trying really hard. She thought this was going to be her happily ever after. She thought this was going to be that story. Oh, we met on a vacation in Croatia. And that was history. That was it. And then they end up going to a restaurant. They happen to see him in the restaurant and they kind of exchange words and they just go their separate ways. And then the last day of the trip, she's trying to get his information. So to be slick about it, she's like, hey, let me get you and your friend that's with you, both of y'all's Instagram. And from there, you can tell, like, and the way she is telling the story, I'm giving a very brief synopsis of it. She's putty in his hands, like she is like literally offering herself to him, and like that man at that moment knew he had a sucker. So from there, they end up exchanging DMs back and forth. She goes somewhere else on vacation. She's wearing a bikini in the Chanel store, and she sends him a picture of her in a bikini at Chanel. She's like, oh, I'm going to buy myself a Chanel purse. That's also where she messed up. She's letting him know she has the disposable income to throw at a Chanel purse, and she's showing it off, right? He invites her to go party in Ibiza, and she's like, well, I don't want to seem super thirsty, so I didn't go to Ibiza. So she doesn't go to Ibiza, but still they end up talking on the phone all day, every day for like a couple weeks. That's where you mess up, girls. When y'all know how it is when you pillow talk on the phone, you get comfortable, you feel like you know this man, you feel like you could be with this man. That is where she messed up. The way she's speaking in the story, she's using such flowery language, like, oh, it was just so wonderful and so romantic. So she seems like the type to be swayed by those types of things. So you could whisper sweet nothings to her and have her head over heels. And from there, he invites her to Monaco. So they're flying lots of places in this story. They're flying everywhere. They're flying to Colombia. They're flying to Budapest, Hungary. They're flying to Nigeria. They fly everywhere. To Paris. It's crazy. The way they just get on a plane any second of the day. So I can't really remember the order of events, but I'm going to try as much as I can. So he invites her on a work trip that he had to Monaco, and they get there, and she's like, we couldn't keep our hands off each other in the back of the taxi, so we go to our hotel room and we have a wonderful time, multiple times. Sorry, mom and dad. And my problem with the story is her tone. Like, okay, this has been compared to Risa Tisa's Who the F Did I Marry? That story is almost 8 hours long. I have never watched the story, but from what I've heard, Risa Tisa was very factual. She was very like, this is what happened. This is what I did. I don't need any sympathy, really. Like this, I'm very factual. These are the plan of events that laid out. So, but with Onyeka's story, her tone really rubbed me the wrong way. It was the way I'm pretty sure she's still in love with that man. The way it was beautiful. It was so romantic. I was so sure I was in love with him. We knew each other for 2 weeks, and yet I told him over dinner I was always crying that I love him so much. How do I put this? The tone, I think, throughout certain points in the story, all right, when the consequences start to happen to her, she's like, let me grab my emotional support dog because this is going to be difficult for me. But she was all smiles in the beginning, telling the parts of that were beautiful memories to her, right? It feels as though I am here to get sympathy from the internet. And the internet, they're very selective on who they give sympathy to. Now, also, I don't know if it's her way of detaching from the situation. Maybe that could be it. But still, the tone in which it was just so wonderful and so beautiful, like that either tells me you haven't really learned your lesson from this, or you kind of knew more than what you are putting on to the public right now. But still, it's something about that tone that bothers me. I don't know what it is, what the real crux of the issue is. Okay, and my other problem with Onyeka's telling of the story is that she's literally, you can't see the forest for the trees if that phrase was a person. Now she's sitting here. We talked about religion and family and what our families are like, and he loves God and I love God, and how he treats a woman, and he said that he'll always be a man and a protector and provider, and you're not seeing the larger issue of what is happening in front of you. He's saying all these cute flowery little things, and you're analyzing, well, I want a provider, so I'm looking at him doing this. I'm looking at the way he buys drinks or the way he offers to pay for this, and I don't want to say when we use therapy terms, they're actual words, and it turns into TikTok speak, and the common person picks it up and they apply it in the wrong way. That's what she does a lot in this story. So they're in Monaco. Okay, let me go back to Monaco. They're in Monaco. She's having a drink over dinner and they're talking and she's crying and she's like, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. And he's like, I want to tell you I love you at a different time. So she goes to the bathroom and somehow she has a huge fall, bumps her head, has a really bad seizure. She's bleeding from the back of her head. And he takes her to the hospital. TMI, she had the seizure was really bad. She was urinating on herself. She was soaked in urine. So she's taken to the hospital. She's getting scans done on her head and she had a concussion. And he's in the hospital and he's like, I love you. You tell me you love me after I got a concussion. He's like, I want the memory to be memorable. I don't know how this man sounds like. I'm just talking. But they continue talking and stuff. And she goes back to Dallas, I think. And then they keep talking. And he asks her, how is your etiquette? Now, here comes my other major problem with this story. And she's like, I think it's pretty good. Why? And he sends her a link to some website or whatever. And it's like, Sir such and such, let's say Sir Charles the fourth or something like that. She's like, oh my God, you guys have the same last name. Is that your great grandpa? He was like, yes. He's like, I'm Dutch royalty. So here comes my big problem. The use of Google was not you might as well have told her she had never heard of a Google before. Now, me personally, I am the mad Googler. If I know your last name, I know what street your grandma grew up on, okay? Please. But this man tells you he's royalty. You don't bother to check that information. He's so humble. He never mentioned that because he's so humble. And it also comes out that he supposedly participated in the Olympics. He won a gold and a bronze medal in handball, I think, for being the backup of a backup. And she still did not Google it. She thought it was very admirable that he didn't brag about it because he is so humble and such a good man. Eyelashes, blank stare. Okay. Now, within a few weeks of all this, and they're talking over dinner somewhere in some exotic location, she's like, if you ever get your money tied up, I will be willing to take on the financial responsibilities. Gotcha, bitch. Hook, line, and sinker. My God. Now, okay, my other problem is you're sitting here pretending like, ladies, we gotta be for real. She's sitting here pretending that money is not a factor to her when it most definitely is. You're traveling all over the world to these exotic locations. You met him in this exotic location, right? That requires money. And you're sitting here, you think you have a royal prince in your presence, and you're pretending you're not materialistic when you are. It's okay to be honest with yourself. Okay, and here comes the first loan. All right. So there's some penthouse he wants to buy in Denmark. Some about he needs $50,000, but his dad won't help him, who's also of royal descent. They're cutting him off, and the royals don't want to help him, or something like that. And some made up bullshit story that she bought. She's like, "Well, I could give you some money," and he's like, "No. I don't need any money from you. I will never take money from you." A couple days later, he comes back. He says, "I need 10K. I just need 10K now." And she's like, "Well, I could give you the 10K. And he's like, no. I will never do that. He leaves, comes back a couple days later. He's like, "Oh, I only need $6,000 now for this penthouse." And she's like, "I have $6,000. He's like, "No, I can't." And she's like, "No, I have it." He's like, "Are you sure? I will pay you back as soon as I can." And she gives him the $6,000. Now, that is the first loan in a series of loans throughout the story. Now, Onyeka, she professionally works in real estate. This man, he also claims he works in real estate, in tech, I think he said. I don't care. But real estate was their overlap. She kept saying, like, "I don't know Danish real estate law, but he needed this much money because in order to secure the transfer of the penthouse, you need to put this much money." Scammer talk. Like, you give me this much money and I give you this much money later. Again, the lack of Googling. You're a real estate agent. You can't potentially look into Danish real estate and I mean, just to give it a shot. Like, maybe there's somebody you could ask for that information, but no, still a blind belief. I don't know if there's a naivete about her, because she told this man, this is my first time in a serious relationship. So that is a definite component. So yes, that is where the deception comes in. She was deceived by that there was a Danish demonetization going on, people. Baby, and once you are demonetized, nothing can pull you out except the grace of God. Okay, so he's in Denmark for a while. Like, oh, I had back surgery. I got a couple herniated discs. My uncle just died. My dad got leukemia. She was supposed to meet his family finally for Christmas. And he was like, no, don't come. I just had a big argument with my family, and he's really down bad. He's having financial issues. Money expenses are piling up. And yet she's like, let's go to Paris. And then he's coming up all kinds of stories. Hey, my childhood friend is having problems buying the house. Hey, can you give me a loan so I can make sure he gets a house because he was really there for me? It's a lot. It's a lot of stupid shit. And then you notice it was a trend of, I need a loan. 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 And in my notes, I'm like, loan. And then at this point in the story, she reveals he is her ex-husband. After all this, she married him. So there is a fire at the apartment complex that he purchased. He asked for help from Onyeka. It is $5,000. He's like, the insurance will cover it and we'll pay it back. So he's in more debt and more loans with her. They're talking over the phone. He's like, I'm sick and broke. Would you still marry me? She's like, yes, I would still marry you. So they go to the courthouse. They get married. She's in a Fashion Nova dress. She's happy, goofy, smiling. She does not care. She's smiling all throughout this. She's in a day. She's like, it's the most beautiful day. And I still have those photos. I still have those pictures, and I still reminisce. Do you really? The IRS calls him. He says he owes $300,000. His dad owes $12 million to the Danish IRS. None of his family or friends will help. The royals won't help. He straight up asked her for a loan of $15,000. At this point, he probably owes her like $11,000. Her savings are dwindling. And I think she gives him like $3,000 per week or something like that, whatever I wrote, for a total of $18,000 for his friend that needed to buy a house. So she's posting on him on Instagram. She's hard launching him. Since they're married now, people are watching her story. She clicks on one of the girls' profiles, and she has a pic of his dog, what she believed was the man's dog, as a puppy. And he's like, oh, block all these Danish people watching your story. Block them all. Turns out that is his ex-girlfriend, and that is her dog. Yeah. When he was in Denmark for Christmas saying he had a fight with his family, he was with his girlfriend at the time, his now ex-girlfriend. Onyeka was the other woman in this equation. But anyway, back to the chronological story of events. I'm going to read the rest of my notes, and I'm going to try to fill in the blanks as best as I can. She finally goes to Denmark for the first time. 10 months after being together. They're together for 10 months at this point. They're married. She had not met nor spoken to his parents or family. She goes to Denmark and she noticed, these royals have a very humble home. Now they're talking, his family is pretty normal. Nice people and whatnot. And it's a lot of back and forth. I'm basically at the end because I had to stop. And at some point, he asked her for another loan of $120,000. Do I have what for? No. But comes to find out, this man has a gambling addiction. This man has a very horrible gambling addiction. He's a scammer. All right. They were at a barbecue, a cookout or something in Denmark. And his friend was like, hey, the guy has a recovering gambling addiction, right? And she's like, what? And she's like, you motherfucker, are you gambling with my motherfucking money that I'm giving to you? And he's like, no, babe, no. Whole time he is, yes. What's the app we have here? Is it Prize Picks, the gambling app where you can state an event and like, will this happen or this happen? And you can click like yes or no, and like you'll bet on that event. It was some Dutch version of that. And he was betting on stupid shit. Like, let's say, for example, will it rain tomorrow? Yes or no? Let me put $30,000 on that. It was stupid stuff like that when she went through his phone. But by the time she finds out, she's already too deep in the situation. She is married. He's moved to Dallas. He's gotten his green card, I think, and everything. And during all this time, he keeps borrowing all this money. And he's like, let's go on a trip. And she's like, with what money? We don't have any money. And he's like, use your credit cards, duh. And she uses her credit cards to take a trip to Spain or something like that. And he also convinces her to quit her job at that time. And she was like, well, I was unhappy anyway, so he just convinced me to quit. And he was like, I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you. And once I get this money back from the IRS, because it's caught up in escrow, whatever the fuck that means, I'm going to help you. I'm going to provide for you. I made a vow to provide for you. Throughout all this time, they're really struggling. But somehow she pulls herself up, gets really deep in her real estate in Dallas, and she's doing a good job supporting their marriage and whatnot. This is where she gets all teary and emotional. She's like, I need to hold my dog Teddy. I don't even know what that dog's name was or something. I need to hold my dog Victor and just need to hold him because it's getting really emotional for me. She has a family friend she calls Crypto. She and her husband, Danish husband, are in Dallas living together, and Crypto's wife calls Onyeka and says, do you know that your husband owes my husband $200,000? She breaks down crying. And she was like, what do you mean? Well, he told my husband it's tied up in watches and cryptocurrency. And he said he would get his money back soon, but he has not. He's been dodging us. He's not picking up the phone or anything like that. This story is crazy because it's so many people in this circle just giving this man tons and tons, unfathomable amounts of money for him to just go fuck off and gamble with it. Now, I don't know if it's like, oh, you're cool, you know her, I know her, so you're cool, I don't need to do a background check. I don't know if it's that type of thing or if he was just that good, because he was talking to every associate around Onyeka that he was introduced to. He talked to this other guy. He was like, oh, I haven't met another Dane in Dallas before, another Danish person. Let's talk business. And apparently he made off with $30,000 of this man's money. It's a lot. It was insane. Could this story have been a lot shorter? Yes. But did she tell it well? Yeah, she provided a lot of background if she's not lying. Now, let me tell you, she was not going to leave that man. He left her first. It was constant up and down. Oh, he's sober from his gambling addiction. He's gambling again. Oh, he's sober. We're doing good. He's gambling again. He's sober again. It was that back and forth every single time. Every time she had a breakdown when she finds out he is gambling on that app again. Now, come to find out towards the end of this story. So she's like, you're gambling again, you piece of shit. What is wrong with you? And he's like, that's it. I'm leaving. So he realizes the money is run out. He can't do his same song and dance anymore. And she's begging for him to come back. And he's like, no, Onyeka, I will not come back. I will not be treated in such a way. She was not going to leave him. He would have ruined her and she would have been okay with that. Deception. And she sits down and tells her family the truth about who this man is. And her little sister is like, he once asked me for $3,000. Her other sister's like, he once asked me for $5,000. Her mom was like, yes, I've given him some money. And she was like, Dad, did you give him money too? And he's like, don't worry about that, Onyeka. And she starts breaking down. She's like, she's in tears at this point. So at this point, she's going off on him, texting him, you sick fuck, why did you steal money from my little sister out of all people? Why did you scam everybody around me? He scammed everybody around her for more than $300,000. $300K. And he just probably was living his lifestyle with it, gambling, betting on stupid stuff. Fast forward to what is happening right now. I think she finalized her divorce with him. He tried to come back, but she was like, no, I'm standing my ground for all the victims everywhere. Today in Tulum, like in present day, there's women coming forward saying he is cozying up to them in this run club social group or whatever, and he is borrowing money from them. He's getting exposed by women in Tulum, like, yeah, he was with my friend the other day, and this man is still on the run. I don't even think you can do anything about that, because I watched the Tinder Swindler as well. I don't even know if that came to a conclusion, because I think all those women on the Tinder Swindler are still liable for the debts they owe due to this man asking for the money. Normally, I love watching shit like this because I'm a Capricorn. I love thinking about money. So it's like, But it baffles me. Like, how can somebody put on an act for so long, I guess, and I guess confidence is everything when you just ask for these large sums of money from these people who obviously have the disposable income to give. So, but for me, I'm thinking like, okay, one could argue she was a victim in this story, but there were many points within the story that she could have gotten off this train. And I think that's the difficult part of me sympathizing with her. You know, what is the fine line between being a victim and being a participant in your own suffering? And as I was listening to the story, I have this distinct memory of somebody I knew, like an acquaintance. She was really fed up with the boyfriend she had at the time. She was trying to marry him. And I remember sitting there. I didn't say a word as she ranted for 30 minutes straight about what he does, how horrible he is, how much he stalks her, and like how he tries to manipulate and control her, and he goes through her phone and all these other crazy things. And I'm sitting there. I didn't say a word. And the one thing I asked her, I said, "So what are you going to do?" And she said, "Well, my kid loves him, so I'm going to go see him tonight." There it is. There it is. She don't want to be saved, don't save her. Now, one could argue if this was a regular black man or another race of man who was not this 6'3", blonde hair, blue eyed. By the way, this man was not cute. He was not cute. He did not look like a Calvin Klein model. She was obviously fascinated with his skin color and eye color. Would she have gone this far? And I think the answer is no, if I'm being completely honest. There were comments she would make like, "I'm Nigerian, but I'm not a scammer." Like, "Oh, I'm like," kind of like people interpret that as her saying, "I'm one of the good ones," type of comment. And also, I was reading like discussions on this conversation. Some people brought up the point that there could be a possibility. Maybe there's a lawsuit coming from the crypto friend or somebody. Maybe she's getting ahead of the story by putting this story out and telling it in this fashion. But regardless of all that, it's all alleged. I don't even know. I don't know, but it's just the way this story was told. I need to sit down and think about what about the tone really upsetted me. It was like, "Internet, feel sorry for me." And apparently she was upset when she didn't get the reception that she wanted for this story. I mean, I don't think when when this kind of money is involved, I don't think anybody, the average person, can be just like, "I can see how he got 300,000 out of y'all. It's okay. It's all right, baby." But have all this money to fly everywhere in the world. And it's like, what are you doing? There was times when I was going to try to record this. I would be like, what? Because I talked about this a little bit on TikTok. The main question was, what are you talking about? And also throughout the story, in my opinion, all she had to do was sit down and write this down. Say it out loud to yourself if you need to. Does this make sense? Does it make sense? If this man is a royal, why does he need money from little non-royal me? Based on what I know about American real estate law, how can I find out information for it to translate to Danish real estate law? Maybe I can Google that. Maybe I can look that up. Nothing's wrong with wanting to believe in love, but she wanted to believe in this lie. I think she knew deep down like that. What are the chances of you can't Google to see if somebody is of royal descent? No. And this man apparently was a real he was a real demon. Like in Denmark, he would borrow money from all his friends to gamble, and then he would start borrowing money from the loan sharks in Denmark. The loan sharks in Denmark would start calling his parents. Then he fled to China to start scamming people, and then people in China, loan sharks in China, would start calling his family. And once she finally asked the family, she finally had correspondence with them. The family can speak English. They know English. So she could have asked them way earlier in this. And they were like, "Did he not tell you he was recovering from a gambling addiction?" So the whole time. And then the breaking point for her, what really broke it for her, she's like, "Are you guys really royal?" And they're like, "Oh God." He told you that lie, and she breaks down. That was the straw, apparently, that broke the camel's back. But I don't know, there's something about this story, like the 4 hours and 17 minutes that I sat through just to get, I guess, a full perspective, because I was going to try to be thorough on this, but I don't think it's worth the time It's an insult to y'all's intelligence for me to even bring this here, but we get into the mess every now and then. We know that. But it was something about this story, the way it was presented, to purposely make us try to empathize or sympathize with her, did not play out well for her. I could just feel rage and anger. Like, girl, I don't feel bad for you, to be honest. Literally, in my notes, I was writing for a post. I said, long story short, this ugly ass Danish man dicked her down and fucked her head up. She married him in 9 months. He scammed her whole family, Nigerian, by the way, and everybody around them for more than $300,000. Now, the stereotype is Nigerian scammers, but I love my Nigerian people. But this man done out scammed y'all, bro. But okay, everybody, I felt my spirit leaving my body as I tell this stupid ass story as it pushes 10. But what do y'all think about the story? Do you empathize with her? Do you not? What are your takes on it? Like, is she a victim? What more do you have to add on the conversation? Because I'm sure I'm missing some things, but it's probably for the best. I'm glad the story is not in my mind anymore. But I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, Vixen. Thank you, Visionary. Vividly Vocal Podcast is available on all podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and so much more. Please subscribe, please follow, stay connected. Follow me on TikTok at Vividly Vocal for daily TikTok exclusive videos. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys very soon. Bye bye.